Okay, I think we are live on Facebook here in a second.
Alrighty, and can you see us and hear us again?
I can.
Beautiful.
What I'll do is once I think we are now live on Facebook, so let me go ahead and hit the record button and I'll kind of introduce you. All right, welcome everybody to another session of SOMO at Home. Today we have some people from the Runge Nature Conservation Center in Jefferson City, and they're going to teach you guys some beginner archery. I'll turn it over to you guys. And again, just let me know if you guys have any questions either in the Facebook chat, or feel free to join us by clicking the link on the Facebook event. And that'll bring you into the Zoom call where you guys can actually ask questions yourselves. So take it away, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you all for tuning in. My name is Sam Stewart, and I'm one of the naturalists here at the Runge Nature Center. And today we're going to give you a virtual introduction to archery. Now, we shoot archery all the time here at the Runge Nature Center in our outdoor range. It's one of our favorite outdoor skills to do and to teach. And today we're going to bring you some of an introduction of that. Now, I'm not the only one here today. I've got some help with me. On the camera is another naturalist, Carly. She's back here. You can't see her, but she's going to be doing the camera for us. And then I have a student right over here, Tia Stamper. She's one of our helpers here at the Runge Nature Center, and she's going to be helping today to actually learn archery because she is one of a first-time archery shooter. So she's going to be learning in the moment along with you all at home as you learn. So today's program is going to be really simple. We're going to learn some basics of archery, what gear you need to get started, how you can shoot safely, how to set up an archery range, and then we're going to work you through the different steps of how to be successful when you are shooting. After that, we'll do some shooting, and then we'll tackle some common challenges that beginners have with shooting archery. So let's jump right in and learn a little bit more about setting up an archery range. Carly's going to follow me down here all the way to our archery net. The number one thing we're always concerned with when we're shooting archery or doing any type of shooting sports is that we want to make sure we're doing this safely. And so here on our outdoor range here at Runge, we have a backstop net that we put up. Now this net is really thick, and it's not just any old net. This net is made of Kevlar, the same thing that body armor is made out of. And so it is great at stopping these arrows that we shoot from the bows that we're going to be using today. So make sure when you're shooting that you have a safe backstop to shoot against. Maybe that's a hill behind your target, or some hay bales, or a nice archery thing like this that we can set up. Now in front of our net here, we have our archery target. Now when we set up our archery target, we want to make sure that it's off of the net just a little bit so we have some space behind it. And we use a block target here. And this is an approved NASP target, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Now, as we move throughout our range, we're going to take about 10 paces, so roughly about 10 yards. It's a great starting point if you're a beginner archer. Start at about 10 yards away, get your basics down, and then work your way back as you go further. Now, what we have here is going to be our quiver for today. This is one of our cones. We have a few of our arrows, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a moment. But this is what we call our shooting line. Now, anybody who's on the shooting line is going to be someone who is actually shooting the bow at that moment. But we have a place for those who need to wait too and who want to watch. That is our waiting line. Back quite a ways from our shooting line is our waiting line. So a nice, safe practice to do when you're shooting archery at home is if you're not the one shooting the bow at that moment, make sure that you have a difference between your shooting line and your waiting line so that everybody who's waiting to shoot can stay safe and stay behind that archer and out of the zone of fire. So those are a couple of ways that you can set up a safe range at home. But let's find out what you need to get started shooting archery. Carly, bring us back over here to the table and we'll show a few of the different things we have today. Now, archery has been around for a very long time. It's an old way to hunt and to recreate, and there's a lot of different bows and arrows that go along with archery. Some of the oldest that we have are called longbows that may have been made out of wood and leathers. These are handcrafted not only by the Native Americans, but by other peoples of the world. and used for a very long time, still used today in competitions and even for hunting. Usually they go along with an old style of arrow made from wood. And as we go forward in time, bows and technology start to change. We have the recurve bow, which looks a little bit different than our long bow. You can see it curves one way and then it curves back the other way. This is how it gets its name, a recurve. So this lets you add more speed to your arrow for the same amount of draw weight. So the recurve bow was the next one in line. Now today we have modern bows. These are often called compound bows, and there are so many different kinds. Here at the Runge Nature Center and in the NASP archery shooting competitions, we use a bow called the Matthews Genesis, which is a great starter compound bow. Now you probably noticed this one looks quite a bit different than the other ones that I showed you a moment ago, because not only does it have a string for your arrow, but it also has backup strings for things called cams right here. Now these allow you to pull the bow back and pull back quite a bit of weight. And they also allow us for differing draw lengths for different kinds of shooters that use these bows. But the cams aren't the only thing. Along with the string, we have riser here, our grip, and our limbs, all important when shooting a bow. To go along with our modern compound bows, we often have aluminum or carbon arrows that we shoot. Now these aluminum arrows are the ones that are approved for the NASP style of shooting, and they have a few different parts that are common to all arrows. They have a nocking point right back here. That's what goes in the string. They have fletchings or vanes here. This is what helps stabilize the arrow's flight as it goes through the air. They have shafts. This is the long portion right here, and hopefully that's the straight part. And then at the very end, we have the arrow point right here. And that pointy part is the part that we're most concerned with when we talk about archery safety. So those are a few different things that we use in archery as far as bows and arrows. But now let's learn a little bit about the gear that we use to keep ourselves safe and our shooters safe, and some safe things that we can do on the range to keep everyone from getting hurt. Tia, would you come over and help me out? Now, Tia is going to do me a favor, and she's going to be their shooter for today. She's going to start gearing up with some of our safety equipment. We've got some simple things to use while we're shooting archery safely. She's going to put on her safety glasses right here. You probably noticed that Tia doesn't have any bracelets on. She doesn't have any long earrings. She's got her hair pulled back. So these are all things that can help us keep the string out of the way of those different things. Then she's going to put on her finger guard. Really easy to put these finger guards on. There are three. They go over your first three fingers, just like that. These will help protect your finger from the string. And if you're shooting for a long time, they can help protect your fingers from a long session of shooting. Now, one more thing that we put on to be extra safe is something called an arm guard. Let's watch Tia put on her arm guard now. Tia is a right-hand shooter, so she is going to put her arm guard on her left arm. She's going to move it up so that it covers the inside of her elbow. She's tightening down her straps right now. This is going to protect her arm from the string if maybe we don't do our best form and the string hits our arm. There are all different kinds of arm guards. Some tighten down, some curl around like this. But the important part is that they go over the elbow, covering this portion of your arm right here. This will keep us safe from the string. You can even see on these older arm guards where the string has hit them a few times. So we want to make sure that we wear these safety equipment whenever we're shooting archery so that everybody can stay safe. A couple of other things that we do in archery to stay safe is always make sure we point our arrow downrange. Whenever we're on our shooting line and we have an arrow out, we always want to make sure it's pointed in a safe direction. Just like we learned when we're shooting firearms, archery is no different. We always point that arrow in a safe direction. So that's another really important part of shooting archery. On the line as an instructor, I oftentimes have something with me called a whistle, and I'll blow this if we have any trouble. So if someone walks out into our line or somebody's in our shooting line, oftentimes we'll hear a lot of whistle blows together. Something that sounds like that. That means there's an emergency. So anybody who's on the line that's shooting at that time would put the bow down and put the arrow down and wait and see what the emergency is before we continue to shoot. So having these simple precautions when we're shooting archery can keep everyone safe. Really great thing to do. So those are a few different things that we need to get started shooting archery, from our range to our gear to our safety equipment Now let's get a bow in Tia's hand and see if she can hit a bullseye. Tia's going to step up to our shooting line. Thank you, Carly. Perfect. Now, the way we teach archery here at the Runge Nature Center, I've been saying, is the NASP style. That's N-A-S-P. And what that stands for is the National Archery in Schools Program. Here in Missouri, we call it MONASP. There's about 200 schools or more here in Missouri that take part in MONASP, where they shoot in the schools, but you can also compete in the National Archery in Schools Program and win college scholarships and go nationally or internationally. Here in Missouri, we even have international winners. So the NASP program is the one that we teach. NASP teaches us that there are 11 steps to archery success. And I know that sounds like a lot, but we're gonna break them down. We're gonna show you each one, and Tia's gonna help us learn exactly what it means to be successful as an archer. The first thing we have to do is work on our form. And our form starts in our feet. This is step one, set your stance. So for Tia, her stance is shoulder width apart, her back foot is faced towards me, and her front foot is angled out towards the target. You can probably see that in the video. So really important to set your stance. You want to make sure your form is good from the ground up. The second thing Tia is going to do is make sure that she's holding the bow appropriately. She has it in her left hand, which is the correct hand for her as a right-handed shooter. Earlier today, we found out which eye was Tia's dominant eye. You see, Tia is right eye dominant. And so I like to start her with a right-handed bow because that works out best for her as far as aiming the arrow down towards the target. Since we know she's right eye dominant, we're going to go ahead and have her shoot a right-handed bow, and we'll move on to step two, which is knocking the arrow. Really important when you knock the arrow to put your thumb down. Go ahead and pick up an arrow there, Tia. Bring it up and over the bow. You notice how she's pointing it down range? She's going to bring the arrow forward and knock it underneath that knocking button. Now, it may be tough to see, but there's a little green spot on the string. She's going to knock the arrow there. I don't know if you heard it on the video, but you may have heard a small click. That means that that knocking point is actually on the string. It's really important. Otherwise, halfway through your shot, your arrow may fall off. Something else to consider is to put your arrow up onto the arrow rest. There's a little piece of plastic on these compound bows. That's our arrow rest. And once we have that arrow set there, we're going to start working again on our form with step three, which is setting our draw hand. Now we're going to draw the string back. So Tia's going to set her draw hand. She just put the tips of her fingers on there. That's called the archer's groove. She put 3 fingers on the string, and she put them about a ½ inch to 1 inch underneath the knocked arrow. So that's going to be a perfect place to draw from. The next thing we're going to do is set our bow hand. Now Tia's bow hand is on the grip. Her thumb is around it, and she's got her pinky back here, is because it can help us make sure the elbow is pushed out to the side and we won't hit our arm even if we have these arm guards on. We want to make sure we don't hit our arm. So that helps us remember and to keep great form. So now that she's got her draw hand set, she's got her bow hand set, we're going to go to one of the toughest steps, and that's pre-draw. That means she puts up her bow arm, extends her bow arm out, and draws all the way back, anchors at her lip, aims, and release. Oh, very good. We hit the target on that one. You notice also how whenever she released, she pulled her hand back and let it rest. That's called our follow through and our reflection. So we want to wait whenever we fire like that, whenever we shoot an arrow, we want to wait as we paint across our face for our follow through, and then wait for our reflection and then see where our arrow went. That'll help us from dropping our bow arm as we shoot. Want to try another one, Tia? All right. She's going to go through the steps here on her own now. Knocking the arrow.
This is the part that takes me a minute.
Make sure we turn that arrow around so that that different color is faced out. Something she's doing here is changing where this vein is facing. The odd color faces out away from the bow, and that helps those veins clear the string. Did you get it to click onto the string? It looks good. All right, she's set her draw hand and her bow hand. She's at pre-draw. She's drawing and anchoring She's aiming down the arrow. We aim low here. Release. That's all right. This is all part of being a beginner archer. We're learning these different things. So whenever you release, remember just to open those 3 fingers and then draw it across your face. Let's try one more.
The last one will be the lucky one, right?
That's right. 3rd time's the charm is what they say. 3 fingers underneath. Draw. Right there's a good anchor point. Now just open those fingers once you're aimed. Hey, all right. Good job. Hit the target. Well done. So those are the different steps that we can take to be successful as an archer. If you follow those 11 steps, you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to become what we call consistent. Now, whenever you start shooting archery, it's not so important to hit the bullseye. I know that sounds strange, but what's more important is that we're consistent as an archer. Make sure that you're anchoring in the same place each time. Make sure that you're aiming in the same place each time. And you want your arrows to form what we call a group. That's where arrows hit and they're close to one another. Now, they may not be in the bullseye, but if you can form a great group, then you can move that group into the bullseye. So consistency over accuracy. And in fact, they might say consistency will form accuracy, because once we're consistent, we can start really drilling them into the bullseye. So those are some of the things that we work on when we learn to shoot archery here at the Nature Center. We work through each one of those 11 steps, and we make sure we're doing them all right so that we have good form and we can make a really good shot. Now you notice Tia's shot down here may have hit low, but it hit right down the center of the target. And that tells us something. That tells us that her form is really good. She's following all of those 11 steps. She's hitting right down the middle. The arrow isn't moving from side to side. And now we can work just a little bit on her elevation. She's going to be hitting the bullseye in no time. So some of the common challenges that we face when teaching beginners are a few really simple things that we can help you with and maybe get ahead of so that you don't make some easy beginner mistakes when you're shooting archery for the first time. Tia, will you come back onto the line for me just like that? So one of the first things I said was that we have to set our stance, that good form happens from the ground up. Now, sometimes what we see with new archers is that their feet are too close together. Can you put your feet close together for me, Tia? If your feet are too close together, you don't have a wide, strong base to start your shot. And so we want to make sure that our feet are shoulder width apart, one pointed forward, one pointed right off to the side, just like that. Opening that front toe a little bit towards the target can help with opening your shoulder towards the target. And this can help you make a good shot. Having a great stance is a good way to go. All right, Tia, something else that we did whenever we were working through our 11 steps was we set our draw hand. That's the hand that is on the string. What we see with a lot of beginners is that they want to put a finger above the arrow. They might put one on there. They might put their whole hand on there. These are some things, we have a thumb here. Those are some things that we can get away from when we're learning to shoot archery. Make sure that you shoot 3 fingers underneath, just the tips of your fingers, and you pull your thumb backwards out of the way so that we don't use it. Very good. Another very important challenge to overcome as a beginner archer is the pre-draw. The pre-draw may be one of the toughest things to get around. I'm going to take this bow from you real quick, Tia. I'm going to show the audience. The pre-draw is where the bow arm is extended like this. And we talked about tucking the pinky back like this, and we can even tuck our ring finger back on the grip just like this. What that will do is it will push the bottom of our hand out. When we push the bottom of our hand out, we push out our elbow. Pushing out your elbow means that you can make a great draw and you can see the path of this string. Do you notice how the string never goes onto my arm? You can keep your arm safe even without an arm guard by following that simple grip rule. What we see sometimes with beginners is that they grip it here with the whole hand and they put their arm out like this and we push our elbow down. Now the string is in the path of the arm. So those are another common thing that we see with beginners that you can overcome. So those are some common challenges that we face when we shoot archery. Also, aiming can be something that's really tough for beginners. But what I always say, I'll hand this back to you, Tia, is that if you can practice even without a bow at home, take your dominant eye, for me, it's my left eye. I hold up my finger just like this, put it out, I close my right eye or squint it, and I look down my left finger. I look at the very tip of my index finger and I act like I'm putting that on the target. That's what we want to do with the arrow as we look down it when we're aiming. Something else that we find is that if we don't open our fingers all the way, we mess up our release. So make sure that you don't drag your fingers, that you open them and then let them fall backwards as we paint across our faces in our follow through. So overcoming those easy challenges will make you a better archer. And if you ever have any questions, I invite you to call us here at the Runge Nature Center and we can answer any archery questions that you have. So Carly, let's come back over to the table and we'll wrap it up for today. Tia, thank you so much for shooting with us. I appreciate that.
Teaching me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So here at the Runge Nature Center, these are the kind of outdoor skills that we do all the time, whether it's shooting recurves, longbows, or compound bows, or even crossbows here at Runge. We love to teach outdoor skills. So that's something that we are really involved with here at Runge. And if you ever get a chance, if you're local to Jefferson City, please come by Runge, shoot some archery with us. And if you're not local to the Jeff City area, that's okay. You can go wheretoshoot.org to find out more information on an archery range near you, or a quick Google search can show you some places around you where you can get a bow in your hands, get the right safety equipment, and start shooting archery on your own. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. And if there are any questions that have popped up, I'll answer some questions now.
Alrighty, Mr. Sam. I'm not seeing any questions that we have on here just yet.
All right, well, just don't forget.
We did just have one pop up.
Oh, perfect. What do we got?
From Miss Christine, I think I'm saying that right. What about adapting the grip?
Adapting the grip. I guess it would depend on the shooter, but adapting the grip can be something that we can do to change it for that particular shooter. Let me show you with the compound bow here. If you need to adapt your grip, there's really one thing that you're concerned with the grip. Make sure that your arm is out of the way of the string. So no matter how you have to adapt your grip, as long as your arm is out of the way of the string, you're going to have a successful shot. Something else a grip does is it helps us level the bow in our hands. Sometimes we see a grip that's too low or a grip that's too high, and that can get out of order for the bow. We want to make sure that our grip is leveling the bow. Keep your arm out of the way of the string, nice level grip on the bow, make sure it's up and down, and however you have to adapt that grip for you, do what works for you as long as you're being safe.
We also have a good point that if you are unable to hold a bow properly or pull it back, if you have struggles with that, there are different ways to use archery. There's also crossbows, which is a totally different method that might help with someone who would struggle to hold a bow or to draw back a string.
Absolutely. And I invite you all to come out. Maybe when all this blows over with our virtual programming, we can do some in-person programming for not only compound bows, but here at the Runge Nature Center, we also teach crossbow shooting. We teach how to stay safe and how to make a successful shot with a crossbow. So if you have some troubles pulling back a string or holding on to the grip, we can teach you a crossbow as well, which is a whole lot of fun. So I hope you'll come out and join us for a program like that sometime.
Awesome. We'll give it one more second to see if we have any other questions.
Thanks, Carly.
No worries. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Sam.
Thank you so much. We'll wrap it up right here. Come visit us at the Runge Nature Center.